Hello there everybody and welcome to Memory Gamma. Today we're going to start a little list of videos with a look at some individual ship classes. We're going to look at the ship class, we're going to go through strengths and weaknesses of that particular class, and then we're going to go through a half dozen or so different cards that work really well with that ship class. So it might be quite specific ones to that, i.e. they might be locked to that particular ship class, quite obvious, or it might be that they're a little bit more out there and involve cross-factioning or a particular set of cards to make it work, but then it works really, really well. So today we're going to start with something simple. We're going to go with the Sovereign class, I think. So the Sovereign class, Federation Starship. You've got several options. You've got the actual Sovereign itself gets a Admiral. If you get an Admiral on board, you can do the Admiral's action as a free action every round. If you've got an Ambassador, you can once per game switch your negotiations. And if you've got the Fed prototype upgrade, you get a bonus defense dice. So simple combinations for this is you want to put the Fed prototype upgrade on board so you can make use of that innate ability. You'll want to put an Ambassador on, and you'll want to put an Admiral on. The Ambassador, it can be someone like Sarek might not be a bad one. You can pick an enemy ship, and that enemy ship can't fire at your ship unless there's no other targets. And then obviously when that ship has been destroyed by somebody else, you can then use the ability to target somebody else. Keeps the Sovereign around for longer. The Admiral, again, there's any number of Admirals that could be good. One that's quite popular is Maxwell Forrest. He is an NX era Admiral, but as a free action, his ship or a friendly ship at range 1 to 2 can perform a speed 1 maneuver, which can be a 1 hard turn. Something which not a lot of ships get, especially at white. And for the Sovereign, which already doesn't turn brilliantly, it's a really nice little bonus move for it. At that point, if you have got that sort of setup, maybe you want some passive quality on a captain. If we're going to stick with Federation, just because of the points, then Picard works quite nicely. Double action just gets you some extra quality. You can have a bonus defense, bonus attack. You already get the bonus defense dice from the Fed prototype, and a blank reroll because of the card ability of Fed prototype. Blank or battle stations, pardon me. So Picard allowing you to evade or battle stations and then still be able to do the other one. It just helps the ship stay alive a bit longer as the sort of fleet support build. Other Sovereign classes, you have the Enterprise E. So the Enterprise E works, again, it's same stat line obviously, but it has the ability of, it has two abilities. This one we're looking at has the ability of, you can put an Orc's power token beside your ship when you're attacking with some torpedoes, and you don't need a target lock. Now, of course, with this, you'll want torpedoes. Now, because you don't need the target lock, the Federation modern torpedoes, the nice cheap ones, work really well here. Normally they need the double action. You need to be able to put a target lock to fire the torpedoes, and then the battle stations to be able to convert all of the dice. Because you get all blanks to battle stations. If you've got the double action, it's perfect quality. With the E, you don't need the target lock, so you can just go action battle stations. At which point, either double action Picard, again, is useful. Ahab Picard, roll 1 less dice but get a guaranteed crit. Or Khan from the USS Reliant. Again, independent, so cross-faction. However, when you spend a battle stations token, they all become crits. You're rolling 6 dice, and everything that isn't a hit or crit natively becomes a crit due to Khan. That's very much a finishing blow, but against a cloaked ship, brilliant. At which point, you're going to want something to maybe negate some defense dice, A good upgrade for that is a Vulcan card, the Translinear Sensors. If there's a scan token, you can time token the card when attacking, and it caps them at 2 defense dice. Now that's not, you can't have 2 scan tokens, make them set at 2 and then reduce them to 0. That is a final calculation thing. So you'll work out how many defense dice they get. So there might be 2 base, plus 4 if they're cloaked to 6, plus 1 from a card, 7. And then you go, right, is their total number more than 2? Yes. Then it becomes 2. So the Translinear Sensors is a really good way of getting through the high-powered defensive builds of, say, the Romulans, or the Klingons when they're cloaking up and everything. Or even just someone that rolls lots of defense dice, NX Enterprises, or Romulan drone ships, who can roll 3, 4, 5 defense dice depending on situations. It's just a nice way of capping that. But now, of course, your action's going to be battle stations for Khan. You need to get a scan on here somehow. Scan works. You can do someone like Tuvok, who is disabled for a free scan action, which could work. So you go Tuvok, and you want the Excelsior era version. Disable the card in planning phase, have a scan token. However, he's then disabled. You haven't got the action to re-enable him. Umres from the animated series. So, planning phase, you disable Tuvok, get a scan token. You do your move. Then you action battle stations with Khan. The battle stations token triggers Umres to re-enable Tuvok. And then you can open fire. You get 6 dice primary. You get 6 dice weapon with the default torpedoes, forward or rear. And everything you roll is a hit or a crit. And they only get 2 defense dice. It's a nice, relatively simple combo. It works nicely. You've got some passive quality. You've got some brilliant quality, actually. You lack defense, but this could work quite nicely as a Sov fleet. The Sovereigns are usually put down as a threesome. So if we do the 3rd Sovereign as the Musashi, this is fleet support. So you want, when a friendly Federation ship is attacking at range 1, they get an extra attack dice, and they get to add a hit if they are also a Sovereign class. So what you want is you want someone that grants you bonuses to friendly ships. So if you go for friendly, if you go for Jean-Luc Picard here, obviously you haven't got him on the Sovereign itself, but that's perfectly fine. That's doable. We can have, instead of here, we could have Spock for a free target lock or a free scan, and the ability to cancel the target negotiation. So theoretically, you could do Sarek 3 times with that. At the start of the game, you select Sarek and pick that ship. If they accept, then obviously that's locked the 2 ships out. If they deny, all the weapons get 3 time tokens. At which point, in the planning phase, you can trigger Spock, cancel that one, and then move to a different ship. They can accept or deny. If they deny, you time token them and move it on. If they really, really, really don't want to be locked into who's can fire at who, you could theoretically put 3 time tokens on all the weapon upgrades on 3 different ships, all in the same round. Because you do Sarek at the beginning of the game on ship 1, planning phase 1, trigger Spock to do Sarek on ship 2, and then in that same planning phase, cancel it again and do it a 3rd time. That's a nice way of getting a lot of possible use out of Sarek, but you're going to want to keep that ship alive. In that case, so you're going to need another action, which is going to be maybe Hikaru Sulu. Just as your action, plus your defense dice and a battle station's conversion. So you're rolling 1 base, 1 for the prototype, 2 extra for Sulu to make 4. You're getting a blank or battle station reroll and a battle station to conversion. That's some quite good defense. If you really, really, really want to help out a lot, Then a standard sort of Fed defensive card would be the multi-adaptive shields. Gives you an extra shield, you get to ignore enemy scan tokens. If you crash into a minefield, you can still roll defense dice. You get another bonus defense dice. It does cap the rule of 3. So you'll get the 1 from the ship, the 1 from the adaptive, and the 2 from Sulu to make +4, which unfortunately then goes down to only +3 because of the rule of 3. But if the enemy has a scan token, then you're still getting a net +3. Now, unfortunately, at this point, we only have 1 point remaining for a standard 130-point game. So that might not be what we want to do. So we might say drop Sulu instead. That keeps it alive for a little bit longer. So you can put on this ship, if you put Esri Dax, because it means you can do Jean-Luc Picard every single turn, because he becomes a one-time token to everyone at battle stations, which is just helpful for defense and attack in general. And then you could have a look at, there's some Task Force Commander. It's a bit expensive. You could, if you wanted to, if mean dropping something else. You could give this a little bit of bonus defense itself. So someone like Valeris. If you do a green maneuver, actually it's 3 points though. You could do a green maneuver, get an evade token. To look at there's a couple of special cards that work well for the Sovereign. So there is a tactical data link, which is whenever a friendly ship at range 1 is attacking, if the ship they're firing at has this ship's target lock, that can reroll a dice. So that might be a good one for the Sovereign to take, because it's going to have a free target lock from Spock. It can target lock someone, and then it hands out a dice reroll to both the Musashi and the Enterprise E, as long as it's got that on there. Now again, you don't need that so much for this, but that works for the primary, because the photon torpedoes are only every other turn. Apart from that, you've got the primary. You've still got a point left. You could do another one of those on, say, the Enterprise E, if you did want to action target lock, but probably not very worth it. So yes, so there is some simple, as a little 3 Sovereign ship build. It's very bare bones, and you've still got a point left, and there is some wiggle room. But that's a couple of ideas, a way to play the Sovereigns. They work really well as a little trio. So the Sovereign hands out that bonus ability to anyone each turn for free. You get 3 uses of Sarek. You've got the defensive bonus from the Fed prototype, and the multi-adaptive keeps the Sovereign around. The Enterprise E is your damage dealer. Khan, Tuvok MRS and the Photon Torpedoes gives you a 6 dice perfect quality every time you fire them. And even when you fire prime weapon, you're going to get 5 dice. You're going to get a battle stations token. You're going to be able to realise somewhere around the sort of like 3 or 4 damage per shot mark, which again is quite good quality. And when you do the big shots, you've got the translinears to really make sure it hits home. And the Musashi, apologies, and the Musashi is a nice fleet support. It gives out the battle stations token to everybody, so that could be a thing. You go, the Enterprise E could take the target lock for the rerolls, if it wants to for the prime weapon, and then rely on the battle stations token from the Musashi. And as long as it stays at range 1 of the Musashi, it also gets a 7th dice with its photon torpedoes, and it adds a hit. So that's a total of 8 damage from a 2-point card, thanks to the Musashi and Enterprise E working together. So, very, very potent. It can be a bit fragile, and obviously you are susceptible to firing arcs, as everybody is. I say everybody, not everyone worries about firing arcs. Wait till I get to some of the later ships, you'll see firing arcs aren't always important for every ship class. But for these guys, the firing arcs are important, but they've got enough moves so they can probably get something in range, and if needed, they've got the free action from Maxwell Forest really to hammer it home and to get where they need to be. Alright, thank you very much for listening. So next time I'll be doing another ship class. I might go around the factions and do a Romulan and then a Klingon and then a Borg and so on and so on. It won't always be like this as a full fleet idea. This sort of evolved naturally as I started going, oh, sovereigns work well with other sovereigns, and to show some very simple combinations, and also of quite a popular combination amongst some Federation players. There's other Federation builds, obviously, especially defensive builds. You can make some Federation ships practically unkillable, and I'll go through those when I get to those ship classes. Otherwise, thank you very much, and I hope to see you next time.